4 of United Impact Podcast. I'm Michelle Tucker, President and CEO at United Way of Greater St. Louis, and I simply could not wait until this conversation came up. And so today we are going to talk to a few people about one of our most impactful holiday programs. It's called 100 Neediest Cases. And so I get the privilege and the pleasure of sitting down with one of my teammates, Becky White, who I know is so passionate about this program. And so she is the perfect person for us to be talking to about this. And so let's jump right into some questions. But before I do that, I want you to be reminded to follow us where you catch your favorite podcast. And so that means you can catch us on Yahoo, you can catch us on Facebook and all types of forums. But again, it's where you get your favorite podcast. So anyway, let's jump into this conversation. Hello, Becky. It's good to see you today.
Hello. Good to see you.
Yeah, we don't get to talk like this very often.
No, not very much. I'm excited to.
I'm excited because we get to talk about 100 Neediest Cases.
One of my favorite things to talk about.
I know. You know what? I look forward to this time frame every year because it is such a rewarding program. You know, it makes us feel good in hosting it, but I think about the families that benefit from it, and it just warms my heart every time I think about it. And so, anyway, we are here to share with people more about the program, and I know that later we will be joined, I'll be joined by Big Brothers and Big Sisters, a couple of people there. We have Madeline coming over, we have Kristen coming over, and we'll introduce them later. But let's get into the conversation because I want people to know more about the program. Will you tell them if they don't already know? Tell us about 100 Neediest.
So the 100 Neediest Cases is a holiday assistance program that has been around for more than a century. And so one of my favorite things is it's really interwoven into the traditions of this region. It's a partnership of being sponsored between the United Way of Greater St. Louis and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And I have vivid memories as a kid of reading these stories, and they really shaped my understanding of what need in my community looked like. And, and now I still sometimes pinch myself that a part of my job is to get to put these together. And one of the neat things about it is that 100% of what we raise goes to the clients who participate in the program. And that's a powerful thing. And that's something that I love being able to share with the community, being able to share with donors and our listeners, that is something that we take seriously, and it's an important pillar of our program.
Thank you for that. You know, the longevity of the program speaks to the impact of it. And I think about how every year I get people that reach out to me and they ask me, are you still hosting the 100 Neediest Cases program? And as you were talking, I thought about, like, just in my distant past, I remember everyone talking about 100 Neediest Cases. And actually, when I was in corporate America, I actually adopted families along the way. And so now it's like everything is coming full circle.
Full circle.
And I am so glad that this program is still in motion. You talked about some things that are special about the program, but what makes it most special to you?
I think one of the most special parts of the program is the tradition of partnership. It is a program that is from our sponsors, from United Way and Post-Dispatch, to our partnership with the agencies, to our partnership with our donors and our adopters, our clients, and our volunteers. And so there's a tradition of that partnership across all of those different constituent groups. We could not do it without any of those different sections coming together. And that's a neat thing, even just what we've shared here, both of us have been in different pieces of that puzzle. And so many of our clients, so many of our donors, it's the same thing for them as well.
I'm glad you said that because I think about most of our programs and most of the things that we do, and we absolutely could not do what we do without the involvement of so many people. So you talked about like all of this coordination that happens behind the scenes. Can you give me a little more detail around that?
You bet. So let's talk a little bit about the size and the scale and the scope. Huge. So our name is 100 Neediest Cases, and that's because we publish 100 cases in the Post-Dispatch for the community to see. But those are really ambassador cases, if you want to think about it that way, because the program itself partners with over 47 agencies this year, school districts, safety net agencies, like we'll hear from in a little bit, as well as agencies who maybe that is the only affiliation they have with the United Way. That partnership, that working together is so key and so consistent. Through this program, we're actually going to help almost 5,000 families this year.
Can you say that again? Because it's called 100 Neediest Cases, and how many are you helping?
Almost 5,000 families this year.
That's incredible.
Over 11,000 people.
Wow.
And then more than half of those 11,000 people are children under the age of 18.
You know, I don't think people realize that. And I do get that question. They'll say, well, who are the 100 families you're helping? And I say, okay, so they're these 100 that are featured, but there are so many others that are helped by this program.
Correct. And, you know, something that they all have in common and something that we do in partnership with the agencies is that every single family that we provide assistance to is at 125% of the federal poverty guidelines or below. And every single family provides what we call documented unmet needs. These are things that show that they have some needs that they still need help with. So maybe they're behind on rent. We have a lot of folks because of the tornado this year who are needing some help with permanent housing. You know, and it's lots of different events. You know, maybe there was a car accident that happened to their family. Maybe they lost a family member to violence or crime. Maybe they were involved in the tornado. For so many of these families, there is an event that kind of triggered sometimes the dominoes to fall, that, you know, maybe they were kind of living a little close to the edge but getting by, and then one event is what tips the scale to them needing some help to celebrate. And, you know, the holidays are a universal thing. We all like to celebrate whatever holiday you celebrate. We all enjoy those traditions, enjoy that time together, and giving is a universal piece of that. And we see that through this program.
Well, you know, you touched on some things like this year, it has been incredibly challenging. And I think about people who are thinking about adopting a family or those who have adopted a family. And I want you to talk more about what that impact looks like on a family.
So I can't overstate the impact that a gift, any gift, whether that is a gift that you make to the general fund of $25, or if it's adopting a family. Right. You know, I helped match a business with a family that they said, you know, our business had a good year. We want to share our good fortune. And so we want to adopt a family. And we matched them with a family that met kind of some of the things that they were looking for. And I reached back out and said, you know, want to make sure this was a good fit. Yes. And they were so excited. And then they were so surprised because in the story, some of the things that the family mentioned is we could really use some help with groceries. Yes. We really need some help with things like laundry detergent or toilet paper or paper, the basics. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so those gifts, that adoption, that sponsorship, yes, it's definitely a gift that, a tangible gift that is needed, but you are also gifting dignity of clean clothing. Mm-hmm. The kindness of not having to stress, of being a single parent and trying to decide, okay, do I spend this last $25 on making a payment to utilities, purchasing medication, purchasing food? You know, there's...
We don't want families to have to make those choices.
No, and it's always a stressful time to make that choice, but the holidays is just an added stressor. And that's why those gifts, whatever that gift is, we got a gift the other day of $5, and somebody wrote, I wish I could give more, but this is what I can give, and this is what and it was important to me to give.
You know, I always say every dollar matters, and I'm going to say that again. In this case, I mean, $5 can make the difference for a family, right? And I appreciate donors just thinking about supporting the program. Now, I know that nonprofits play a key role in the success of this program. Can you talk about the role that they play? And I know we're going to be talking to Big Brothers, Big Sisters later, but tell me what role they play.
Well, and they have the front row seat to that. But in this program, we understand that the client relationship lives at that agency level. So, you know, when you talk with Madeline in a little bit here, she'll mention these relationships that she has with the clients and that her caseworkers have that are built around trust, that are built around that partnership that they have. So our job at United Way is to support the agencies to make sure that they have the tools that they need to provide that good casework and to provide that good support as those stories and those cases come into the group. And again, we have almost 5,000 cases this year.
Wow, that's a lot, and it's massive when I think about, the team at United Way, you and what everybody's doing, but volunteers play a key role too. What role do volunteers play in the success of the program?
The most important one.
Yeah.
And they're all important roles. I can't say that, but it is such a privilege. I work with a team of about 20 volunteers who give their time to answer the 100 Neediest Cases phone, to answer the emails. My job again there is to make sure they have the tools that they need, because again, it's this partnership piece. It is not any one group, one thing that comes together. It's everybody doing their part. We have volunteers who have been with us for 15 and 20 years. I mean, when I started,
that too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have the history. They have, they trained me on the casework thing when I was a new staff member.
Yeah.
And the volunteers really, they do some matchmaking of matching our adopters with a case that meets, some meets what they're looking for. Sometimes an adopter will say, hey, we have a child who's on the spectrum. That is a journey that we are familiar with. We want to help another family who's on that journey. And that's why we have partners like Illinois Center for Autism. They look at see the cases and make that match. We all have a journey, and sometimes that enters into when we make that decision of giving, that I want this to benefit somebody. I know what this journey looks like. This is who I want to. And our youngest member of the 100 Neediest Cases has not been born yet. He's due in November. And then the oldest participant is over 100 years old.
Wow. So both ends of the spectrum.
Both ends of the
everything
spectrum.
in between.
Yep.
I am so happy we're helping so many people. Is there a specific story that stands out for you that helps people to understand the type of support we're able to give to a family during the holiday season?
There's so many stories. It's hard to pick
I
just
gotta
one.
have you pick one.
All
Maybe.
right. I think the one that sticks with me most was partly because I didn't expect it.
Okay.
We, as a thank you to the volunteers, at the end of the season, we get together and gather. And I was at a local grocery store getting a cake, and it said, "Thank you, volunteers, for a great season."
Yeah.
And as I was working with the cashier, she said, "Is this 100 Neediest Cases?"
Okay.
And I said, "It is." And anytime there's an ask like that, I always know that there's a story coming, and I couldn't wait. And she said, "I want to tell you, I had a heart transplant 15 years ago."
Oh, wow.
So it was before my time with the program. I was a donor and adopting families and that sort of thing. She said, "My family had a holiday that year because of the 100 Neediest Cases. So I decorated this cake."
Yeah.
She goes, "But you have to tell those volunteers and everybody who supported the program, thank you, because..." And they don't know me, but they don't have to know me.
A lot of love
They
went
made
into
a
that.
difference for her.
Yeah.
And I was running errands. I had,
Right.
as we do, that
Like you
it's
said,
like, okay.
this was unexpected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you never know the impact that a gift or that a simple transaction of paying for a cake will have. And that's the privilege of my job. Sometimes I'll pick up the phone and it's a client that I'm going to talk to. Sometimes I pick up the phone and it's a donor. Sometimes it's a partner. I have the privilege of having a front row seat in collaboration and partnership with the volunteers to see that giving, to see those relationships happen.
And as I'm thinking about just the services and the supports that are offered through the program, I think about how impactful these things are. So, these are very serious topics, and when I say I get excited about this, it's because we get to help people. We get to help people, and then we get to invite the community closer to helping people as well. And this is just neighbors helping neighbors. And before we close out this segment, I'd love for us to talk a little bit about how people can get involved if they want to help.
You bet. So I'm so glad you asked. There's lots of different ways to be involved. I first would invite people to visit our website at 100neediestcases.org. That website is where you can say that you're interested in adopting. It's where you can make a donation. It is where you can send us a note, lots of different ways. Much like you did at the beginning, I would invite people to follow us online, whether it's on Facebook. Make sure you check in on the United Way page because of our role in the community. And you know, what's really special is it helps people to connect who maybe they gave to the United Way campaign and they also gave to 100 Neediest Cases. Those two things don't happen separately. One is part of the other, and because of campaign with 100 Neediest, then everything we raise goes to the clients. And so people, whether they want to give the gift of time, the gift of money, even just the gift of the story. One of my favorite fields, when you do make a gift online, we ask, why are you choosing to support 100 Neediest Cases? You want to talk about stories. We hear from people that say, my grandmother and I always adopted a case together. Wow. We lost my grandmother 3 years ago, but I continue this as part of her legacy. I get goosebumps just talking about it. You know, again, that's that interwoven into the fabric of our local community. And St. Louis is so generous and so kind. And there's definitely things we can work on, but there's definitely things that we do right. And the 100 Neediest Cases and the gifts of time from the volunteers, financially, and just sharing that story. You know, even just sharing when you visit the STL today and read the stories, share them to social media.
Right.
There's so many ways to give. And then, of course, visit us if you are interested in volunteering with the program. We need your help. We are volunteer-run, volunteer-led, volunteer-driven. We would love to have you join us. And you do that by visiting our volunteer center online and let them know you're interested in volunteering for 100 Neediest Cases.
Well, Becky,
and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I think the more that we raise visibility around the program and invite people to participate, the more participation we're going to get because people will be compelled to want to make a difference. I thank you for what you do because I see every day what you are doing to make this program successful for our community. And we'll be back pretty soon to talk to Big Brothers and Big Sisters about the agency's perspective on this. So thank you again.
Can't wait. Thank you.
For the last couple months, many of the high school and college students have been working on an assignment to illustrate need in our community and what each of us can do to make a difference for a family this year. We are seeing folks ask for help with just everyday basic things, besides of course toys and bikes and all the magical fun things that make the holidays enjoyable.
Well, welcome back. I get to continue talking about one of my most favorite holiday programs, 100 Neediest Cases, and this time I am joined by members of the Big Brothers Big Sisters team. We have, first of all, Madeline Sawatsky, and she is a senior project manager over at Big Brothers Big Sisters, and then we have Kristen Slaughter, who is the president and CEO over there. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I know that it's a busy time for you. Oh, I'm glad you're here too. It's a busy time for all of us. Yes. A busy time for you all. Thanks for taking the time out to come and talk about a program that I know is meaningful to all of us, right? And so we talked earlier about, what the 100 Neediest Cases program is all about. We talked to one of our teammates, Becky White. And so I want to ask you all a few questions about it and get the agency's perspective on this, right? And so Madeline, I know that you've been involved for over 10 years now in the program. What does this program mean to Big Brothers Big Sisters and to you? Talk to me more about 100 Neediest Cases.
Yeah, this program means so much to us, in part because it means so much to the families who are in our program, in our mentoring programs, that what we hear consistently year after year from the families who apply through us is that pursuing this program means the world to them, that it is truly so meaningful for them to participate, that it is such a relief of stress and anxiety to know that they're able to receive assistance in this way.
Yes.
From their community members, from people who care about them, and they talk about how much that lightens the load for them. This is a crazy time of year for so many people. And so being able to count on that assistance is so huge for so many who participate in the program.
I think that excitement, when I think about the adopter's perspective in wanting to do this and looking forward to it every year, is so special. And it's one of the most special things about the program. It's the people that embrace it and that step forward and ask us all the time, are you going to do the program again? Are you going to do it again? It's been going on for many, many years. And believe me, I do not see a stopping point ahead, but it does so much for the families around the holiday season. And so I talked a little bit about this earlier, but this is such a meaningful time. And the types of gifts and services and supports that are provided during this I would call it an emotional season, right? It just goes such a long way with these families. And so when I say I get excited, it's because we get to give back in a really major way. Talk to me about the adopter's perspective and why you feel like, people get so excited about this and what makes it impactful for them.
Absolutely. So we are so honored that so many choose to adopt families from our program and through 100 Neediest Cases, and being able to work back with them year after year and get to know them and why they choose to adopt families in this way. So many of them feel a special connection to families, whether that's they have selected a family that is experiencing a struggle that they themselves have experienced, whether that's an illness or a death in the family, or even some, small things of connecting on, this is, a parent raising 3 girls. I raised 3 girls, and I know how fun that is, and I know how to shop for, 3 girls,
Right.
and those, small connections in all the ways that we are so similar. So there are so many things that it's easy to see where we may be different, but there's also so many things where we are so alike, and being able to build community around that. Another really special thing that we get to see is we have the next generation of philanthropy being raised in. We have high school students who are working together to adopt families each year. We have a fair amount of those every year, and we're so grateful for their continued participation. But it is setting that priority from a young age, and seeing how impactful that is, and seeing how there are kids who are just like them, who want a lot of the same things they want, who are interested in the same things they are, who just might have their family just faces different financial struggles. And so being able to build that empathy across difference is so important, and so beautiful to see happen every year.
Yes. In what you just described, I want to remind people that we all experience struggles and challenges at some point in our lives. And so this isn't to put a spotlight on someone who needs help during the holiday season, but it's really, we're talking about this so that we can invite more people into the circle to want to give a helping support to those who just have, like I said, experienced kind of a bump in the road, or need some additional support. And this is one incredible way for the community to step up in a really big way to support so many families. And speaking of that, we called the program 100 Neediest Cases, but that's just, the 100 Neediest refers to the spotlight and how we raise the visibility around the program. But there are 4,000 to 5,000 families that are helped by this program. And, I know, Kristen, one of the things that you enjoy most about what we're able to accomplish is that 100% of the families, when I talked about the 4,000 to 5,000 families, they all receive some type of assistance. And it's not just from the wish list, it is some type of financial support. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would love to. And I always go back to this because I think it just gives our families such a peace of mind, especially as you talked about during the holidays, especially when there's children involved. They just want to make sure that they can, they're able to have their basic needs met. And so a lot of times when we're able to do that for them, maybe it's housing, maybe it's utilities, then they feel like sometimes they can end up doing the other things for their family as well.
That's what I think.
And so I think that that's just really important. So I love how you really put the spotlight on that each of those families ends up getting something, and that really makes a huge difference. And it they always talk about lightening the load. during the holidays. And so we are so fortunate for so many years to partner with the United Way. It is one of the favorite things of our staff and our volunteers as well.
Well, we couldn't do what we do for families to support them to this degree without your help. And I know we get most of our referrals from our agency partners, and you all are one of the number one, partners who refers over the cases, and it just warms my heart to see so many people adopt and step forward. So why don't you share, if you would, a story that was maybe most impactful to you and that helps our listeners just kind of get a sense for the type of support the 100 Neediest Cases program provides.
Absolutely. So we have, so hard to, pick just one. There's so many great families that we've been able to partner with this year. But someone who came to mind for me, we'll call her Ms. C. She's had a rough year, like so many, but within 1 week, both she and her partner lost their jobs, and then the company closed. So it wasn't, a situation that they had any sort of control over. And in that same week, their apartment building was also sold, and they learned they had to find new housing. And they've got 5 kids that they care for, and so finding themselves in this spot of, these big life changes happening back to back.
Right.
But even through that, she is someone who is, seeking the help of her community. Luckily, she has family in town who's able to provide some support, and she's us as well to, provide, emotional support and connections to other agencies where it makes sense. But, thinking about the holidays is really, thinking about what is going to happen, will she be, what stability will she have at that point when it comes to an income and being able to provide something for her kids. But even through all of that, to meet her, to talk with her, she is one of the most joyful people you'll ever meet. I was chatting with some folks at the office and mentioned her, and they're like, "Oh, I love her. Yes. Oh, she's so wonderful." And so being able to have that positive attitude is, she's, the last check-in that I had with her was able to chat where she had a job interview lined up. She was hoping and feeling really positive about it, and being able to really keep that positive attitude, in part because she has to for her kids, that, she knows that she needs to, keep a positive outlook and model that for her kids so that they don't feel the stress that she's feeling. And so being able to provide support to her at this time, to be able to lighten that load, to Kristen's point, is a real gift to those of us who get to participate in that and get to know her.
That's a powerful story, and I know it's hard to choose which one you bring to the forefront, because there are so many that are impactful stories. And when you talk about there being joy in the person, I just I think making this program a relatable one is important. And you talked earlier about the way that adopters maybe select the families, and they see themselves in the families. And that's what I meant by we all experience challenges along the way, right? And we, many of the adopters, and let me just tell you, I used to adopt families throughout the years before I came to United Way, right? That was just one of the things that I looked forward to doing, because again, the holiday season is such an emotional time, like I said, and there's a different expectation around what a parent would provide to kids, and you just feel extra pressure. And so when you said adopters kind of look at the profiles of the families and say, okay, 3 kids, I've got 3 kids, I was there once. Right. It's relatable, because this isn't us. It's us lifting our neighbors. I'll put it that way. It's us lifting our neighbors, and it's just a time that all of us is probably seen at some point or another. So I'm going to keep inviting people into the circle and saying there's still families that can be adopted right now, and there's still ways that you can help. So let's talk about when support like this shows up, the type of impact it has on a family. Can you share more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with all of this, I think what is so powerful about this is that it's the trickle-down effect. Is that with Big Brothers Big Sisters, we show up every day and we show up with a mentor. And then as an agency and partnering with United Way, as we continue to think about, as they're bringing other resources, they're being able to stabilize them, then they're being able to give hope to their children. And then that just continues on. And I think that we hear this all the time from our families and our youth saying that, my community believed in me. They showed up for me, during times. And I mean, the last 6 months or so have been hard. We've had the tornado that came through. We've had economic times that have been hard. And our community has just kept showing up. And I think that's really important. And I'll give you one last example with that. Madeline talked earlier about the whole paying it forward. And we have continued to see this even for some of our youth that have been involved in our program. There is one, multiple, but one I could just think of most recently. She used to be in our program and was part of the 100 Neediest. And now she is at a company, and she asked her company to pay it forward and adopt some of the families. And that's what this is all about. How do we keep thinking about how we're impacting our youth now, but how then we can keep paying it forward? And so I think there's just so many amazing stories, and we just have to continue to believe that there's hope with all of this.
I agree with you, and what's very important right now is to make sure we are, setting the right culture, a culture of giving, a culture that inspires people, it compels them to want to give back, and you always say it's our accountability, so it's on our watch to make sure the next generation understands that there's an opportunity to continue to help our neighbors, and we should care.
That's right.
All right, so I'm off my soapbox.
We like your soapbox.
I think about 100 Neediest Cases all the time, but it's not just cases that we're talking about, not just numbers. These are real people at the end of the day. How do you see hope grow for these families when you see people step up and give the assistance? And sometimes it's unexpected because people think, well, maybe my case won't get adopted. Mm-hmm. But they do, and there is something for every family. How do you see hope just playing a role in the outlook forward?
Yeah, I see it in so many ways. I'm a current big sister in our program, and so the family that I'm so incredibly fortunate to work with, they say that all the time. They say, part of being part of the program and being part of, the holiday adoption, they feel so much hope that again, we can continue to think about the impact it's going to make. And I think also when you think about, especially young people, we say they're really resilient. Yes. But if we keep helping them and building them up, and that's what they continue to see. Because again, when you stabilize a family, the hope can go so much farther. Again, my little sister is 10 years old, but she's already has so much more hope for the future when you can stabilize a family. And that's what we're able to do with over 130 families every year, just with Big Brothers Big Sisters.
Yes.
With, you said 4,000 to 5,000. Think about what that means, because that's not just a person. That's a family. That is a community. And just how do we keep leveraging that to give hope to our community overall?
I like where we're going with this conversation, because I think that it's creating a greater understanding around what we're talking about. And what I hope is coming through is for people to understand that we can't do this alone. Like the United Way can't do this alone. It takes all of us working together to lean in and understand, what kind of support can we give? What does a helping hand look like? Because really people, they just need to be helped to stay on track or help through a difficult time. And, that's what we're here trying to provide. And I want to invite people again in. I want to ask that they go to helpingpeople.org to learn more about 100 Neediest Cases. And I'm afraid that we have to kind of wrap the conversation here. I know I could talk about this all day. All day. But let's talk about it on the streets. Let's talk about it in our church and just bring more people into the support group. But I am going to, again, wrap things up at this point and ask people to listen in and follow us. Follow us where you follow your favorite podcast, and I can't wait until the next time we connect, because on the other side of this, we'll be talking about what the results look like and the impact that we've made together. I thank you for being with us again today. It's always great to see you. And Madeline, thank you for coming out. I know, like I said, you guys were really busy today. Always, really. It's a busy time.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.